Bonjour et bienvenue à présent pour Topik Konversasyon et mon en plaisir aujourd'hui bon matin pour accueillir Madame Marina Shamova qui est un clinical psychologist mais le fait que Madame Shamova il cause anglais, il y a un risque de travail cessé dans son clinique privée alors ça nous pour faire une bonne interview en anglais aujourd'hui bon matin. Good morning Miss Shamova, how are you this morning? Ou bien?
Oui.
Would you like to speak Creole or English?
Well, I'm almost everything I can understand, but the way of my pronunciation maybe is not
So
that
you'll
perfect.
understand almost everything?
Oui.
Okay, so there are instances that I can ask you a question in Creole for the
Let's
benefit
try.
of the viewers, and you can answer in English.
Yes.
Okay, that's good then. Okay, Marina, we know that nowadays, today, if you open any newspaper, any other international media on Facebook, BBC, CNN, Sky News, you are bombarded every day with COVID-19, the number of deaths, Italy, Spain, and we are getting too much information that sometimes we are stuck, we are, we are on hold just like the world is on hold. How much information should we take in this situation now?
Good question, because everything is supposed to be quite balanced, right? If we take too much, we will get informational stress. Then after we will have emotional stress, definitely, because we are over-mobilized with our survival mode. We feel threat as something bigger than it is. We exaggerate our fear, exaggerate the real threat. And on another hand, if we are in denial, which also can happen with a lot of people still, it's also not the best way to to stand the situation where it's a real threat there. So both extremes, first of all, we need to avoid. Common reason is everything what we need now to have normal dose of information from reliable sources, such as Ministry of Health here, let's say. Because otherwise, all other resources in the internet, you honestly cannot rely.
But would you advise us to listen to, we know that there are some people that have posted their situation, they have témoignages sur les. Is it okay for us to go and listen to that, or we just shift this away and move the other way?
You can until a certain extent, I would say. If you see that you are already panicking and it's not helpful for you to receive all this information and you cannot cope, you start to do unreasonable acts in order to protect yourself. Let's say you become overprotective or just experiencing severe anxiety symptoms, such as you can find the same symptoms all of a sudden in your own body. You come to a doctor and doctor even cannot find the flu. But you convince a doctor, you know, I am sick, I feel this and that, and I even have a slight fever-ish something. That's another, those are still parts of anxiety, actually, and people.
But is it normal for us to have this reaction, these feelings?
For some time, if it's not persistent, it can be a so-called transitory problem. But then after it's supposed disappeared. Why we have fear and anxiety? To mobilize our new mode of living for us to survive well and even grow, develop very well. So we need that. It's a part of natural mechanism, biological mechanism. Alarm. But then after, if you are still not coping well, you cannot readjust. You cannot adapt in this changing environment. You will have adjustment disorders or reaction to stress, which can end up with depression or with whatever else. So that's why it's good for temporarily, very temporary time, to have anxiety, increased
But how do we
anxiety.
manage? How do we know that we are facing qui ne peut pas well, madame en créole, comment y a nous pour connaître bien reconnaître qui là nous dans une période anxiety et comment y a nous pour peut-être overcome les?
If it can has very different picture in different people. Someone will just persistently feel scared, simply scared, low appetite, bad night sleep during longer than 2 weeks. It is definitely a symptom of developing anxiety disorder. If in the past you already had issues with anxiety, definitely they will now become acute, and most probably I believe you will need to get access to help from psychologists, because all predispositions for phobic disorders and anxiety disorders now are increasing, and I can see that already, unfortunately, which were inevitable during last 3 weeks maybe.
So, pe gen plis kliyan ki
And,
devine avek savan problem anxiety
Yes, definitely.
over the fear of COVID-19.
So if you see that it's persistent and you cannot cope, don't hesitate to get access to help, either in internet, instead of Googling COVID threat or whatever. Google how to cope with panic and how to decrease anxiety. Avoid, as I've told you, avoid denial or excessive panic, because both of them are not helpful for you. You need to start to change. In changing environment, in changing rules of game, we need to adapt, we need to become flexible. If you are rigid, you will be anxious more. Your rigid attitude to changing circumstances will make you only more will make you only more anxious, because you know unconsciously that you are not adjusting it right. So if you see that, okay, I can have new plans, new strategies, how my business will survive in case of that or that or that, you start to think in different way. You are okay with that course of life which is going on each moment, each moment. It is okay to be flexible for me, to change, to have new views on the same things, because such threat never happened before, and it's just a challenge to flexibility.
Be avek sou de ban kada ki augmente à travers le monde, il y a beaucoup de pays qui sont lockdown et qui nous voient beaucoup panic buying. How do we manage? Bien cope, est-ce que nous besoin faire ça, peut-être ça panic buying, qui bien nous capable passer, ou bien existe une réaction normale qui dit mon peut-être peut manifester from anxiety?
You can see that even in the world, different psychologists have different opinion about that. Let's say, I can see some of them, they are almost joking about that it's excessive panic reaction again. But in my, here I need to tell my professional and personal opinion, right? I see that it has reason there. Why not? Everything should be kind of balanced, yes. So if I feel more safe having some storage at home with needed goods for my kids, for any case, why not? It's not the way how I'm doing that. That's what's important. If I'm panicking and just going crazy, buying everything, whatever I see, which some things which I even don't need, that's one story. When I just, with my cold, normal reason, buying necessarily thing, understanding that sanitizers can disappear tomorrow, maybe. So just for me to take the better care of my family, why not? Of course I will buy a little bit more. It's not a panic buying. It's a reasonable action.
It's a precaution.
Yes, of course, why not? And I feel more safe because I'm responsible for my kids, and I know that I've done my best.
So you think it's also normal that people are flooding all the pharmacies and buying all kind of medicines to prevent themselves from...
So someone buying all kind of, feel the difference, and someone is buying just necessarily things knowing their disorders, knowing that they need to have some in case of anything happened. Normal precautions. I do the same. I check everywhere, wear masks, wear sanitizers, because I need it for my work and for myself.
But tell me, well, it's not, it has not happened yet in Seychelles, and we pray that everything stays the way it is, that we don't get many more cases, and that we are more or less on a safe line. But if ever a member of your family is tested positive with COVID-19, first, what advice would you give to the patient themselves? Because normally the way the trend is going, we are seeing COVID-19 equal death. Once you see COVID-19, or you know that you are infected COVID-19, you are thinking, oh, I'm not coming back, I'm dying. How do we manage this thinking? Is it okay? And how do we overcome the death, life, think of life instead of death?
You're right, how we think, right? As a psychologist, I strongly believe, due to my scientific knowledge and practice, I strongly believe that a lot of things really depend on the way how you will think, how you will perceive all the situation. I don't mean that you need to be in that vanilla positive thinking all the time, no. But you need to have a normal, strong logic, first of all, relying on data, which is truthful and proved. First of all, it's not equal to death. Absolutely. Simple flu, different, how you call them in English?
Manifestation.
Stems of flu can be much more dangerous than even this COVID. Pneumonia, yes, these consequences per se, it is a heavy consequences, but it is curable. It's very well curable if it's caught on time. Don't hesitate just to call 141 if you really see persistent symptoms. High fever, cough, difficulties with breathing, body ache. Otherwise,
sometimes.
death is happening mostly for people after 65. So, what does that mean? Isolate your parents, your grandma, grandpa, your beloved ones. Make new family traditions. Granny, I will call you, we will talk by phone. Or I'm not going to visit you, it is okay, because I love you, I want to protect you. Be flexible with changing whatever's. So, again, common reason. It is not equal to death. It is not equal to failure. If it happens, it doesn't mean that you need to be taking more of special acts. All the acts you need to take are very simple. But if you are always in media, reading everything, exaggerating, your perceptive system is changing. You start to feel almost paranoid. So,
well, I think I'm a bit paranoid because every day I'm reading about the coronavirus, and just before you come, I was reading a 12-year-old girl who passed away from the virus in UK, and a 30-year-old woman with 3 kids fighting for her life. This is not good news when I read about this, and it really weighs on me a little bit, you know. I think I should stop reading these things, and I would start.
You should see how your scared mind is becoming selective, choosing the very negative stories among all others. Because if you see statistics as it is, you can see how optimistic it is, honestly. So we don't know the background of that woman. Maybe she was on chemotherapy, or her immune system was really decreased. And this girl, I would also doubt, because a lot of people really create stories. It does exist, and as I know, children do not, they cannot be sick with it. They become contagious. That's why we need to keep our kids at home now, because they are going, they are communicating with other people. they are not washing hands all the time, so they can be a threat for another generation, for our elder generation.
But what about for the elders? Ban vie ti moun de la kou, ban ti moun âgé de la kou qui peut suivre nous peut apprendre tous les jours quand tu ti moun qui peut mort là dans 80% ban ti moun âgé, bien ban ti moun qui a ban problème la santé. Dans cette situation ban ti moun âgé, mon connaît peut-être l'esprit fatigué. Dans quelle façon peut-être ou quoi, je mérite ou des solutions sur l'esprit un peu connaît comment because naturally it's tout normal. It's normal that say a woman of 75, 80 years, she will be worried about the virus, about the pandemic. What would you advise him or her?
First of all, those reasonable actions, isolation, self-hygiene, very strictly, like never before. You see, for them, now it's a problem of that flexibility. They don't use to such lifestyle. But if they, for sure, will adjust, will adapt to that, they can save their lives. So to be flexible, responding to the changing situation is very important. So their children are supposed to organize caring environment. Isolation, washing hands all the time. By the way, what they use mostly, prayer. Now I just see a lot of people. They are developing their prayers, and it is helpful for them. I even ask them a question: how have you updated your daily prayer and find it more helpful for you, that you feel more safe and comfortable? It is very important because it doesn't decrease the immune system, at least this anxiety, when they feel more safe.
Doctor, there are some patients are calling. They used to visit you when you used to work with the Ministry of Health, and they want your contact. Are you willing to give them your contact, or where you are based? Maybe they can come and pay you a visit?
Yes, of course. 264-3200.
Or where's your clinic?
Actually, I'm located at Espace Building, Ile-du-Port, but now I'm more and more turning into online counseling, of course.
So you can reach us well on Facebook, because I saw you on Facebook.
Yes, Facebook, Sci Service Seychelles, yes, page.
So, dans la course, souvent, on vit contact avec Sikolog Marina Shamova. Son numéro est D64-3200. Et ou capable aussi de le Facebook à cause de moi. Si j'ai contact avec lui, le Facebook, après ça, qui nous établit contact pour lui venir dans nos programmes. Nous continuons alors nos interviews, docteur. Nous apprenons plusieurs pays qui mettent la loi en place et nous causent social distancing.
Which is reasonable, right?
Yeah, it is reasonable, because they say if you want to stop the spread of the COVID-19, stay at home, social distancing. This is maybe the golden rule. The l'artisan, son guérison. But on the other hand, nous voyons pour dire non, c'était gouvernement, l'autorité qui besoin prendre la force pour faire social distancing. Is it zot peut regrouper à cause zot pas quoi de COVID-19 sont la force, ou bien nous peut regrouper à cause nous envie peut-être en un support camarade à cause de continuer dans ce regroupement?
It is again question. Finally, it is a question for each of us to protect ourselves despite of any regulations. You cannot rely on anybody or anything if you are physically under threat. What I want to say, I honestly see that steps which are already done are very reasonable, even though people are arguing a lot, but it has a big reason why government is making steps by this order. But in such situation, you need to mobilize your own reason as well and your own choices, where to go, how to go. If you don't have mask, use something else. Insist with your employer, I need to walk distantly. Do everything what you can to protect yourself, and it will naturally change. If you are not, again, flexible, if you are not doing reasonable steps to protect yourself, nothing will happen around. It depends on you. You can do a lot for yourself. You should be proactive. So whatever regulations are there, especially if regulations are stay at home, it's a lockdown. Hallelujah then. It would be the best, I believe, now.
But doctor, on un scénario, a member of your family is is positive for COVID-19. Well, maybe he or she has accepted the fact that he or she is infected and she needs treatment. How do we, as family member, support the person morally? Because we need to be stable first, to be focused, to be able to help the person morally. How do we first accept the news, face the fact, do not be in denial, to be able to be strong to help the person infected?
Yeah, maybe I will say not something what you were expected, but the first step you need to do is to take care of yourself again, to ask, am I protected? Because my relative was contagious, definitely. I need to check myself. So you need to report 141, first of all, to check yourself.
So this is a panic then coming your way?
No, it is reasonable actions already. The virus is a physical subject which can penetrate into my system too. So it's not an emotional something I need to take emotionally. It is for me to organize myself for adult type of behavior. Adult mode, we call it in psychology. Means I put emotions for a while aside. I will sort it out after. Now it's time for right, reasonable strategies to test myself, then after to realize step by step how I can support my relative. And there is a various scenarios as well. If they are isolated on quarantine or whatever, in isolation center, and you can keep in contact by phone, everything what you need to do is just letting them know that I am with you. You know that there is no reason to panic. It is curable, and you can even feel that it's like simple flu, usual flu, and they will confirm it. And I'm here with you. I will support you with everything what you need. That's all. Usually that's enough. Listen to them. Listen to the symptoms, to what they're experiencing. They just need to feel that they're not alone. That's all. And doctors will do their part, treating them. If, as I've told you, someone is having such symptoms next to you, you need to make again reasonable steps, call 141. So it's about not usually more than with severe flu. That's it. Have I answered your question?
But doctor, we know that sa nouveau virus, sa nouveau virus COVID-19, il amène changement dramatique la façon qui y met, y vivent la terre. Nous voyons dans la ville, par exemple New York, qui est au standstill, l'Angleterre, Italie, partout dans grand la ville populaire, côté des touristes, du monde au standstill, du monde peut vivre dans un appartement. Bon, par contre, si vous voulez ça c'est mais sinon vie nous aussi pas tomber dans la situation et outbreak sérieux, nos besoins comme individu acter comme ça. Par exemple, nous habitons la vie ouverte, zone d'allons, al prendre un petit drink, aujourd'hui, pas décidé de commencer à prendre des années, un dîner. Comment nous adapter avec sa nouvelle la vie? You know, il peut y a un nouveau trend qui éventuellement nous, si nous pas entrer là-dedans, how do we adapt? Because we are not used to living this way. Yes.
Well, we need to wait to risk of to be infected and to spread it in population, and our usual habits again. Again about that flexibility. I strongly believe it's time to experience and enjoy other things. Go to the beach, look, it's empty. You rarely can see tourists. Isn't it enjoyable, at least for some time, to see it back to how it was before? You know it's temporarily. We will definitely come back to normal. So enjoy those temporary changes which we have now. Even though I know it sounds, to enjoy it, it sounds a bit
Crazy now.
yeah, but still it is possible, and believe me, we will recall this time with nice memories, that we have some new experience.
Do you think, est-ce que sincèrement croire qu'il peut en être la fin? Is there light at the end of the tunnel with the situation in the world today?
Absolutely.
You
Usually, like any virus behaves, it will take some amount of people to be infected, and then after it, we call it dies. But this question is much more to doctors. And by the way, you call me doctor, I'm a clinical psychologist, which is not strictly a doctor. Yes, psychotherapists in some countries, they are called doctors due to the scientific title, doctor of science. But I'm not a doctor, I'm a clinical psychologist. So, Miss Marina.
Okay, Miss
So
Marina.
virus will take it, and I can see how it, the dynamics, how it goes, and believe me, of course, it is light in the end of tunnel. Probably much more earlier than even we can think now, because when things are that hard like now, it seems like it's hopeless situation. No, it's not. It's again that thinking, negative thinking, affected by anxiety.
Are we, do we expect more people to have a panic attack avec sa situation?
Well, I do, because I know how it works. I receive more and more calls and messages every day. I mostly, believe me now, 80% of my work are voluntarily, even though I'm a private practitioner, and it's part of my duty. It's totally okay for me. It's just a high risk of burnout, and I do take the best care of myself to stay in a good shape, to be helpful, useful. But it is increasing, of course, because people who were not, who were quite stable just 2 weeks ago, today they are already experiencing some new symptoms, and they even can see how it changes day by day. So, as I've told you, if you see it persistent and you cannot cope anymore, and it's very uncomfortable, it's really affecting your life, it's affecting your communication with kids, with your family, don't hesitate to get access to help. I hope soon mental health unit in hospital will also be available. They now are suspended because due to the need. So I hope they will be also available for the service, for us to cope. Because if we will have now army of psychologists here, which was always my dream for Seychelles, it would be much easier for me and for my colleagues. But now it's sometimes it's unbearable, the load of work. Still, do not hesitate to get access to help yourself on time, because anxiety issues, like any physical disorders, it depends a lot when you started to provide care, treatment for yourself. As earlier, it's better. If you postpone for some chronic state already, for specialists it's also more difficult to help you to get recovered faster. You see, so.
But what would you advise? Because there are many people out there who has chronic diseases, heart problem, like bronchitis as well, asthma, diabetes. Would you advise them if they are working to keep going to work, or maybe to step back and say
Such things I cannot advise or not. First of all, it's supposed to be done
in the workplace?
Yes, with regulations of government, of employee. I would rather advise again and again to stay vigilant, making reasonable, precautious actions for themselves, about self-care, first of all, and relaxation and other procedures which were always helpful for them. Now it's time like never before. Even if you feel quite coping, you cannot notice how general level of your anxiety is increasing now, unfortunately, just due to the so-called social anxiety. It is like additional pressure now, so we need to do our best for us to feel comfortable and good, for us still to have pleasure of life. And by the way, in Instagram, in my account, I'm preparing some series of tips and videos, recommendations how to stand anxiety during hard period. So subscribe, please, in Instagram and watch. Maybe something will be very helpful for someone, I believe. You see, when you give tips and recommendations, they are, in psychological practice, they are, unfortunately, very often they are taken for granted. That's why psychologist is asking questions. What you find, finally, more helpful for you to help yourself. What else you would accept or not accept? How else you are ready to leave your zone of comfort, because what we are passing through now, we are leaving that zone of comfort, which is, even though, what is the peculiarity of zone of comfort? It is not comfortable anymore, but still I used to it. So I'm suffering, but still not living it. So now it's time to step into that unknown something, because life pushes us, life corrects, life gives changes. Accept it. It's normal course of life, absolutely normal. It's life itself.
Doctor, I think on Monday, a lady texted and she says that every time she talks about COVID-19 or sit to think about COVID-19, she gets headache, she's having a runny nose, she's having fever, she's having cough. Is it a normal feeling, or what would you advise that person?
Yes, don't worry. If it is temporarily, again, it is kind of normal reaction due to some peculiarities of your character entirely. If it is a persistent problem and really disturbs you with other bodily symptoms, it might be a very certain disorder, anxiety disorder, which need to be treated. That means it's not curable just with your home relaxation. You need some psychotherapy course. But temporarily, yes, now a lot of people experiencing I'm sick. It's again, as I've told you, it's one side of panicking. When we don't panic on emotional level, oh, I'm scared, but we suppress it in our body, and our body is panicking with symptoms. So we somatized our symptoms of anxiety, actually. So if it's temporarily, it is kind of a normal part of that reaction to stress. If it is persistent, more than 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks, and you also have disturbed night sleeping, changed appetite habits, and some other symptoms, definitely you better go to a specialist to receive treatment. It doesn't mean that you are crazy or whatever. No, between severe mental disorders which are curable with medication with doctors, psychiatrists, and so-called norm, healthy state, there is the widest spectrum of pathological and subpathological states which we all experience sooner or later. Because our life in 21st century is full of stress. Definitely. Evolutionary we are. But it's another big topic.
Maybe another thing that is bothering the people, par exemple, tout qui est dans business, quand business pas paiement c'est là, et si moyen dans l'étude, comment vous pouvez commencer, est-ce qu'il y a un moment pour nous imaginer ça là ou bien mettre ça à côté, comme tu causais, we cross up the journey, get to it, et là concentrer sur la santé.
Business. Well, it's another additional topic. Again, new strategies are needed. This already depends on, very much depends on individual situation because it's two very essentials. Maybe only psychologists know how different the variety of situations of cases we have here in Seychelles. So it is better to receive maybe recommendation or advice on individual base, honestly, because to give just a general recommendation on that, I will cover only very small area, honestly, of people.
Okay, but Miss Shamova, there are some countries that there are a lot of death. In Seychelles, we are lucky we have not have any death so far. En cas de famille mort avec COVID-19, bien si pour n'a pas bonne grand la fanfare l'enterrement pas une habitude fait simple enterré. Peut-être du monde pour facile comme si qu'il meilleur pas accepter sa réalité qui aujourd'hui et du monde bon aussi bien demain il gagne infecté tomber mort comme si qu'il meilleur pour overcome sa situation. Peut-être que c'est un petit peu le morning là la situation que tu as du monde qui mort avec COVID-19. Is it a normal, do we mourn as any other sicknesses or something that will mark us for the rest of our life, you know?
How many people are dying due to different causes every single day in Seychelles and everywhere? Death is natural phenomena. Sooner or later, it will happen to everyone. That's the question. If generally you are scared of death too much, that's already a psychological problem. So people who have persistent fear of death and on the background from the past now, they will definitely panic more. And it's a problem of not accepting death and not accepting life, honestly.
Denial.
Yes, not really denial, but if you are not ready to immerse in life to the full extent, you cannot accept death, and you will develop some phobia to death. So, to die and to live are two normal things in life. And yes, sure, someone will die one day, or maybe not in Seychelles from COVID. It is not a question of to accept it in a special way. You understand me? Any disorder can end with death if it's not treated well or if it's not caught on time, any disorder. But when we will have those deaths, we will talk here about that. We don't have for a while. So, our prayers and reasonable actions working, right? Reasonable actions also working, not only prayers.
Somebody wanted to ask you if they can get rid of COVID-19 by doing more exercises at home.
Everything what increases your immune system is going to be helpful, sure. And else, doing physical exercises, you are neutralizing your anxiety, because what is reaction to stress? To fight or flight, right? I either need to fight the threat, possible danger, or I need to run away. In this case, both are reasonable. Isolation is to run away. Fight is to convert my anxiety into very productive actions. So what I personally do knowing that this inattention about what's going on around, about my increased pile of work and everything, if I do my exercises, enjoying them, not less than 40-45 minutes per day, by the way, it is going to help me not only with my immune system, but else. It is going to decrease anxiety. It is going to prevent depressive-like states, by the way, a lot. So it's a powerful, powerful prevention of a lot of disorders of nervous system, bodily, physical, physiological. So of course, but just choose something which you enjoy more. That's what I would. What are your sources of pleasure? Because if you're forcing yourself, jogging or whatever else in the morning, and it's just a stress for your body, stress for your state, you can maybe select something else. You always have choice.
Finally, Ms. Shamova, what are the positive things that we are gathering from that we are getting from the COVID-19? Because I can see in Europe communities coming together. I didn't know my neighbor until COVID-19 came. The environment was there was a lot talking about climate change, and now I think the staying home, not flying in aeroplanes, not driving cars is contributing towards the environment, and then family values is being built. What are the good things? How is it going to benefit us as human beings and as a community as a whole from COVID-19, despite the fact that it is killing? We have fear, we are panicking, there is anxiety everywhere.
It is very rarely killing. Let me correct, very rarely killing.
But the good thing that we are getting from the COVID-19.
And again, to give just the tips, look, this is the benefit and this is the benefit. It is not the best way to discuss it. Look, I personally, I already found a lot of big and small benefits in such situation, even though I've been affected too in some of them. But definitely it is a development for me in so many ways. I need to stand up and go and do things which are only indicators about my development. Profession-wise, I would never come here, let's say, because I'm not a public person. I don't usually avoid such things. But I strongly believe it's a good progress to finally to start to speak, people like that also. Personally, a lot of benefits I already found just during 2 last weeks. So my question is now for each of person who is listening us right now. Honestly admit you already noticed some of benefits of what is going on. Focus your attention on them. Try to see honestly more of them, and you will find them, because focus of attention is a powerful thing. Where we move it, all those things start to be visible and they're expanding. if you understand what I'm saying. So find your own instead of taking advices and tips are cheap. It's my opinion if I say that, you know, guys, you're so benefiting. No, you see, are you benefiting? And I'm sure you will find a lot of benefits in your personal, individual situation. They can be very different, but they are there.
Okay, Ms. Shamova, thank you for coming this morning and sharing your expertise on how can we best survive the anxiety, the fear of COVID-19 now that it's really, well, fait à dégâts dans our community. So thank you for coming and have a blessed day to you. And take care of yourself too.
Yes, thank you. We are surviving very well.
Ok, c'est ça, voilà, ça c'est notre topic conversation pour aujourd'hui.